All right, so tomorrow you have a test. The test is going to cover lessons 10.5 and 10.6. The test is only going to have 10 questions on it. Now, some of the questions are going to say solve, and then some will say solve and graph. So in the homework that we just did, we did both. So you've had plenty of practice of solving and graphing. So on the questions where, let's say you get a question that looks like, say, number 5 from your homework last night, where it's 2a minus 1 in the absolute value bars and 9. This question might say solve and graph. So it might say this. So over here to the side, just like on last week's quiz, there's going to be 2 lines. So on the top line, you'll write your inequality, and on the bottom line, you'll create your graph, or you could do it next to it. So again, remember when it says to solve an absolute value, you're going to make 2 problems. 2a minus 1 equals 9, and when it's an equal sign, it's an or, it's a disjunction. And then 2a minus 1 equals negative 9. You'll solve both of the equations here. 2a equals 10, divide by 2, and a equals 5. Go ahead and do the same thing over here. 2a equals negative 8, divide by 2. So a is equal to negative 4. So then when you go to write your answer, you're going to have both this on the first line with the appropriate word in between, and then a equals negative 4, and then you will graph them. Again, you don't need to fill in the whole number line. You could just put the 2 numbers that you just got and then show that it's the closed circle when it's the equal sign. So you'll have, not only will you have equations, you're also going to have inequalities with the 2 steps like this, just like you did in last night's homework. Another one that you could do, let's say another example might be, this is number 9 from the self-test on page 489. 4s minus 13 is less than or equal to 7. So here, it's already isolated for me. So I'll do 4s minus 13, take away the absolute value bars, solve that one as is. Over here, 4s minus 13, flip it and set it greater than or equal to negative 7. This symbol for me, I'm using my little acronym or whatever, and this is a less and. So that's how I remember that. So this will be an and when I'm all done. So then now I can solve this, both of them individually. Add 13. 4s less than or equal to 20. Divide by 4, and s is less than 5. Do the same thing over here. 4s is greater than or equal to 6. Divide by 4. And s is greater than or equal to, and I'll simplify 6 over 4 to 3 over 2. You will include the word and on the line. So on the line, you would write this on the first line if it says solve and graph. And if it says to graph, you'll make your graph. Again, you don't need to fill in all of the numbers. I'll put the 3 over 2 here. You're doing at least to greatest. That's 1.5. If you want to make this a mixed number, it's 1.5 or 1.5. And then what we'll do here is graph this. So less than 5, but greater than 3 over 2. So it's a segment. Yes?
So we have to know the difference between and or.
Correct. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you? Questions where towards the end of the homework, where you're going to have to isolate the absolute value first. So, for example, I know I just did all of these. However, let me just Review number 17 again. So for number 17 from last night's homework, 5 minus 4, absolute value, 2 minus 3t, greater than 21. So again, what you need to do first is isolate this thing. This should be the only thing on the left side. So I need to move away the 5 and the -4 first. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 5 first. We work backwards of PEMDAS. And then I'm going to get rid of the -4, divide both sides. So this becomes absolute value, 2 minus 3t. And I'm going to... Okay, so I divided by a negative, so I need to reverse my symbol. And now I can set my two problems. But notice, as soon as I got to this point, remember that if your absolute value is less than a negative number, you should stop and say no solution. Now, let's just say this was the other way. Let's say it was 2 minus 3t, and let's say it reversed, it was this. Okay, this is solvable when it's greater than a negative number. So I could actually do this one. So it'd be 2 minus 3t, and then you would set it, or let's just make it positive 4. So I would do 2 greater than 4, and this is greater. So and then I would do 2 minus 3t, flip it, and make it negative. And now I would solve. Negative 3t greater than 2, or, and then go ahead and move this over, less than -6. I'm dividing by a negative, so again I got to reverse again. And then here, dividing by a negative, reverse, and it's positive. And then now I'll try to graph this. So put at least to greatest, so the negative first, the positive here. This is going to be an open circle going this way, open circle going that way. So 10 questions. Most of them are going to be multi-step like this. You will have towards the end of the quiz where you need to isolate the absolute value before you begin. So 10 questions. Some say solve and graph. Some say only solve. It'll be clear. Just read the directions. The ones that say only solve will only have one line over there. So that is your test for tomorrow. So right now what we'll do is we're going to review last week's quiz before we take this test.